Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be talking about toxic relationships, and with me here is Mr. Spencer Adu, who will be answering a few questions. To start with, we would like to know what toxicity is.
Okay, so if you talk about something being toxic, it's basically, it has a broader sense and it has a narrow sense as well. But basically, when we say something is toxic, it basically means it's unpleasant or unwholesome and very risky and all. So that's basically what you mean by something being toxic. Yeah.
Okay, and now focusing on toxic relationships. How do we identify toxic relationships?
Okay, so a toxic relationship is basically one which makes you feel unsupported, which makes you feel demeaned, which makes you feel lesser than a human being. So any relationship which makes you worse rather than better can be classified as a toxic relationship.
Have you ever been in a toxic relationship?
Not yet.
Okay. Friendship, boyfriend, girlfriend, relationship, or with a family member?
Oh, okay. So personally, I've not been in a real toxic relationship before, but toxic relationship in itself is not always between a boyfriend and a girlfriend. It can be between a parent and a son, or even family members. Once it makes you feel unsupported, it makes you feel demeaned, or it makes you feel worse rather than better, that relationship is basically, like I said, toxic.
Okay, thank you very much. So, if I find myself in a toxic relationship, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to completely cut the person off, or are there ways of making the relationship better?
Okay, so I would personally say individual differences would always prevail in society because we are all from different backgrounds and all. So I feel like once you find yourself in a relationship you think is toxic, the best thing to do is to basically exit the relationship if it's possible. Even if it's not possible and you think you have actually tried all means to make the relationship a better one and it's still not working out, I think the best thing to do is to exit the relationship, because a toxic relationship is one which may lead to abuses. So once you basically stay, you are going to be abused and to aggravate to like a whole different level, and you would basically be in a difficult situation. So I feel like the best way to deal with a toxic relationship is basically abstain, or if you are in it already, run away from it. That's what I would basically say.
Okay, sometimes it's easy to give advices like abstain, stay away, but it's actually hard to actually abstain from such relationships.
Yes. So I know love is very blinding, like they usually say, and sometimes you actually love someone, but the love you have for the person, you don't get it back. And yes, you sometimes it's not wholly your fault. We know that sometimes we place our feelings like ahead of us, and that is how come we face some of these situations. So you feel like you really love someone, because at the end of the day, you must be the priority.
Exactly.
So if you feel like you really love someone and the person is not giving you back that love, and it would lead to a toxic relationship which will make you feel down every time, emotionally down, emotionally like weak every time, I think the best thing to do is to exit the relationship, because that love that makes you enter the relationship will tend to hate at the end of the day. So I feel like that's the best thing you can do.
Okay, so before we started talking, I was conversing with someone who told me that people are not like toxic, like something leads them to being toxic. So
Yes.
what do you think are the factors that leads one to being toxic?
Okay, so I actually agree to this assertion, because nobody was born toxic. Nobody was born in a particular way, but surrounding factors or some elements leads to a person being toxic or a person behaving in a particular way. It may be that the person has been in a relationship before and that relationship actually led to a lot of like bad situations for the person. The person actually like had a lot of disadvantages in that relationship. So such a person, the probability of he or she treating the next partner like she gets in a bad way is very high, because already the person has these feelings that he or she might be treated in that same bad way by the new partner.
So it's like a defense
Exactly,
mechanism.
that's a defense mechanism some people like using, if you ask me. But then I think some people naturally are also toxic or would like to dominate in relationship, and that's what sometimes brings about the toxicity in like relationships, because you want to dominate. You don't want to take into consideration the opinions of like the other party. You always like want your opinions to like prevail, and that's why people also feel like, oh, I'm also a human being, I'm also like part of this relationship, so my opinions, they should all matter in the relationship. So once you try to downgrade my opinions or to ignore them, that would also lead to like a toxic relationship, if you ask me, because everyone wants to be heard.
Exactly.
Everyone wants to be considered at the end of the day. So once you are not doing that, you could say that relationship can lead to a toxic.
So the advice to the victim is to try to abstain from such relationships.
Yes, abstain. Right? That is when you feel, or when it is reasonably like foreseeable that this relationship can actually lead to a toxic one, just abstain. But once you did not anticipate that and you are already in that relationship and you have tried all other means to basically abstain from, to basically correct that default or that fault in a relationship, and it's not working out, the best thing to do is to basically run away from it.
Yes. Now, what would be your advice to the perpetrator? Like, how can the person, the one who is toxic, stop being toxic?
Okay, so that brings in mind counseling. Okay, so sometimes that person can resort to like counseling, can go to a counselor for the person to be counseled, a psychologist. That's where they come to play. So they can actually take the person through a period and the person might change. But like I said, some people are naturally toxic. So such a person would not even change if the person, it will be very difficult for such a person to change. So once you feel like it's your effort will be futile, even if you resort to like these alternatives, just run away from the relationship, if you ask me.
Okay, please. Thank you very much. Your views are appreciated. So that's all for today. Thank you guys. Please like, subscribe and share.
Bye.